Hi there, and welcome to what is sure to be an interesting video, flying on a Bhutanese airline from Thailand to India, and talking about the history of aviation in Thailand, which brought Bangkok to its mega hub status of today. This video is part of my Roots and Hub series, but differs a bit since I'm not flying on a local carrier, as I normally would in the series, for two reasons. First, I have many Thai Airways videos on the channel already to explore, and more importantly, there's only one daily flight from Calcutta, this flight's destination, to Kathmandu, where I'd be sleeping. So I needed to catch an 11 AM flight from Calcutta, hence why we're at Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport at the ripe old hour of 3:30 AM. I do need to give credit to my driver though, who seemed to want to get 11 or so round trips into the airport before rush hour started. I got here in 21 minutes. Before we get any further, let me welcome any of you that may be new to the channel. I'm Kevin the Flip-Flop Traveler. If there's one thing that I want you to know about my videos, it's that my opinions in them are honest and my own. If you'd like to know more about the what, how, and why I do what I do, scan the QR code or click the link to learn more. Have a look around the channel. There are hundreds of airline and hotel reviews to enjoy. This very eclectic trip report starts now. Suvarnabhumi Airport, where we are now, opened in 2006 and was designed by Helmut Jahn after a global design competition. The design of this airport is squarely in the love it or hate it column with most travelers due to its modern, stark, and at times brutalist design language. But in reality, the design here is all about the elements. The shape of the concourse, the 11th largest terminal in the world, all comes down to dealing with the tropical heat and keeping you cool. The designer says of it in their loftiest of explanations, quote, "The airport achieves the architectural manifestation of the ultimate clarity and efficiency. Nothing must be added and nothing must be removed," unquote. I originally booked an economy ticket with the intention of trying to upgrade at the airport for this flight. Bhutan Airlines website leaves a little bit to be desired, and for foreigners, buying a business class ticket on this specific flight wasn't even an option shown. I arrived at the end of a pretty long line and asked an employee as he passed by if there were cash upgrades available. You would think that I just reminded him that tomorrow is Christmas. His face lit up and he brought me over to the business class check-in counter. $165 later, we were set. I'm pretty sure I can give you the full history of Bhutan Airlines in like 30 seconds, so let's get into that quickly. They are Bhutan's first private airline, owned by the Tashi Group, Bhutan's largest conglomerate. Originally Tashi Airlines for like a minute, they re-emerged as Bhutan Airlines in 2013. Their first route being the one that we're taking today, connecting Paro and Bangkok via Kolkata. They currently fly to a handful of international destinations with 2 A319s, and well, all done. Right now we're heading to the Coral Lounge, which has taken the top spot of my favorite Priority Pass lounges here at the airport from Air France KLM. These lounges have really upped their game, and the hospitality inside is unmatched at any other lounges in the terminal. So let's talk about aviation in Thailand. I'll put up the extended airport stats. I'll try to keep this kinda concise, but my god, I fell down a rabbit hole on this one. The history of aviation in Thailand involves a king, a Belgian, France, Saigon, and is endlessly intriguing. In 1910, Velgen van den Born recorded his first flight within Saigon, flying from what we now know as District 3 to District 5 and back. The next year, while testing the limits of his flying machines, he ventured off to Siam. On January 11, 1911, he landed in his plane named Orville Wright at what would become the Sa Pathum Airfield, the first in Thailand, which if you've been to Bangkok before, you've probably seen hidden in plain sight. We're talking about what is now known as the Royal Thai Sports Club. King Rama VI was there and was so impressed that he sent 3 soldiers to France to train to be pilots, the first ever Thai pilots. While they were there, they were authorized to buy 7 aircraft, which would become the basis of the Royal Thai Air Force. 3 years after that first flight, Thailand's first airport opened, what we now know as Dun Mueang. This is the current low-cost airport for the city and was the primary hub before Suvarnabhumi was opened. Dun Mueang would go on to become Asia's first real commercial airport, with the arrival of a Royal Dutch KLM flight in 1924. A few years before that though, the airfield was put on the map by the Smith brothers of Australia, who I've talked about extensively in this series so far. They landed after a perilous flight through monsoonal storms, writing in their log after gradually flying lower, quote, "We burst out into full view of a gorgeous world, carpeted with trees 1,500 feet below. The sudden transformation was stunning. It was an unspeakable relief, the end of an hour that was one of the various nightmare experiences that I have ever passed through. Luckily, the rise of Bangkok as an aviation hub wasn't quite as harrowing. Bangkok was used as a common transit point for kangaroo route and round-the-world route flights, and continued as such for decades to come. By the 1940s, Thailand began to advertise as a destination in its own right, partly due to Pan Am's first round-the-world services launched in 1947, a route that was nearly by chance. In the 1930s, Pan Am had intended to focus on the profitable transatlantic market, but war and diplomatic disputes meant they had a surplus of aircraft. And so, different exploratory clipper services were launched to the likes of China, New Zealand, and Singapore, perhaps culminating in this round-the-world route. With the dawn of the jet age, Thai Airways, in their previous iterations, began to grow a regional network that was meant specifically to connect onto SAS and Swiss Air. SAS initially owned 30% of the international Thai carrier, a forward-looking investment if I ever did see one. Bangkok was also one of the stops on the inaugural BOAC 707 Kangaroo route service in 1959. We would be departing from a bus gate, our aircraft having landed the night prior and was parked at a remote stand. Business class boarding was called, and I was kinda dumbfounded that not only was there a separate van for business class passengers, but also that it was a Bhutan Airlines van. Like, their own. There wasn't a sticker slapped on the side of it. I mean, we're talking about an airline that has 2 planes. As I waited for the other business class passenger, who never appeared, the economy passengers took off, which I thought kinda defeated the whole purpose of this, but you'll see they had a plan. So you can see that it's just a kinda big mishmash of events, airlines, and routes which led to Bangkok becoming the mega tourism hub that it is today. Literally everyone wants to fly to Bangkok, it would seem, hosting an insane 114 different passenger airlines, and that's just at Suvarnabhumi, flying to 147 destinations, the vast majority of which are international. It's easy to see why this airport features in so many different aviation videos on YouTube. It's basically like Asia's smorgasbord of airline selection. On the way to our aircraft, we passed Druk Air, the flag carrier of Bhutan. Let's take a look at today's flight stats. I got out of the van and the driver started carrying my bag for me, which I kindly said wasn't necessary. As I stepped on board, I was warmly greeted by a pair of crew, one of them dressed in traditional Bhutanese dress, and they insisted on putting my carry-on into the overhead bins for me. I kinda felt bad because I'm sure he wasn't expecting that thing to be like 20 kilos. As we take a look at the seats, let's keep in mind that we are still actively boarding, and you tell me if you can spot what made this whole process so unique. The seats are an older generation product, but are in absolute pristine condition, with 3 rows in a 2x2 configuration. Loads of legroom for the bulkhead, but if I know it's not going to be a full flight, I always prefer a row behind so I can keep my carry-on with me. If you'd like to follow along on my Routes and Hubs journey from Brisbane to London, but aren't free at the times that I post, bookmark the playlist linked above and in the description so you're able to follow along whenever's best for you. There's also an introduction video in there that explains the entire series. Legroom is decent, comparable to most American carriers in domestic first. There's also a footrest and a leg rest which can be deployed. So, did you notice yet? First of all, at this point I'm still the only one in the business class cabin. But the thing to notice was, the front curtain has been closed at all times. The curtain to economy is closed at all times. All of economy boards via the rear stairs. The front stairs are only for business class. I've never seen this done before on a narrow-body plane. Ever. Sitting here with my glass of water, so far I have to say that this is the most VIP 2-hour business class flight that I've ever been on. Just before we closed the doors, one other passenger joined me in the cabin, the van having gone back to pick her up. Prior to doors closing, the crew were working at a pace that I would say is around 2 notches below frantic for reasons that I couldn't really figure out. Hot towels and menus were brought around as we pushed back, and soon after the manual safety demonstration began. The economy curtain remaining closed until just before the "crew be seated for takeoff" announcement. Enjoying the video? If you are, give the video a like. Go ahead. You know where it is. Yeah, just right up. Yeah, okay. Clicking that itsy bitsy thumbs up button will do precisely one thing. Ensure more people see this video. And it's free for you. If you prefer payment though, who am I to argue, my Patreon is also linked in the description. Thanks very much. The spool up, takeoff, and airport stats are coming up. There was meant to be Wi-Fi and entertainment on this flight, but it wasn't operational today. At our seats, we already had a beautifully embroidered pillow, and after takeoff, the crew passed around blankets. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say passed around? I meant the crew came over and draped blankets over our legs. I generally look forward to breakfast on an airplane around as much as I look forward to getting coffee at a bodega. At the end of the day, it's coffee, it has caffeine, it's going to serve a purpose, but I'm certainly not going to enjoy the process. Today's breakfast, though, broke far out of that boring mold. Here's the menu. There were 3 choices, but I'm pretty sure the second and third choices were dressed up economy mains. I'll admit that I was a little bit disappointed at first glance that everything was Western. But I think this might have been the best, traditional Western breakfast that I've ever had in the air. The main was scrambled eggs with cheese, potatoes lyonnaise, green bean, tomato, and chicken patty. Those eggs were as good as I could make myself on the ground. I've never had truly creamy scrambled eggs on a plane before. And that chicken patty was well seasoned to a fault. Even the tomato sauce was good, not sweet at all. This was served with a croissant, cheese and crackers, and a small fruit bowl. That second fruit bowl looking thing is actually pancakes with fresh fruit and custard, and there was also a separate yogurt. I had a black coffee with it, standard stuff, along with the soda water. To top it all off, a box of chocolates. You know, it's one thing to throw a bunch of different things onto a tray and hope that the passenger likes some of them. I see that fairly often. But it's a very different thing to actually execute all of it really well. A definite 10 out of 10 for food. Also a 10 out of 10 for bathroom product display. Obviously, this airline is operating on a very small scale. It's relatively easy in that case to maintain such high standards. But it's worth pointing out how high these standards were across the board. Did I wish I was flying to Paro simply for that landing? Yeah. But you know, routes and hubs. But this flight cemented Bhutan onto my list to visit. I don't know when, but if this is what one of their small airlines is doing, I can't imagine what it's like to visit the country. I kinda didn't want the flight to end, but if I never got on the ground, I'd never be able to book that trip to Bhutan. So enjoy the approach and landing in Kolkata. Even reliving it now, it's hard to believe how good this flight was. There's still plenty of little tiny details that I didn't even mention. $165 is more or less a standard upgrade fee for a 2-hour flight. It's certainly not something that's necessary, but in today's case, it is certainly something that's worth it. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Now though, it's time for a bit more Air India. But don't worry, it was a pretty good flight. So I really do hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time as I embark on my search for the Himalayas on my flight up to Kathmandu. Oh, and as always, thanks for watching until the end.